For today, we're going to read a story called The Perfect Clubhouse. And when you're done listening, I want you to draw a picture of what you would turn a clubhouse into. What would be your perfect clubhouse? One summer morning, Stanley invited his friends Heston, Floyd, and Julius over to work on some science experiments. They were having a great time when Stanley's mom discovered them. "Stanley Bartholomew, what did I tell you about conducting science experiments in the house?" she said. "But, Mom," protested Stanley, "we're pushing back the frontiers of knowledge." "Push them back outside," she said, pointing to the door. "Now where do we go?" asked Stanley. "We can't go to my house," said Heston. "My mom is going to have her baby soon, and she needs peace and quiet." "My house is out too," said Julius. "The minute we got there, my little sisters would start bothering us." "I'd invite everyone to my apartment," said Floyd, "but it's too small for any real fun." The four friends were glum. They needed a place to call their own. "Hey, I have an idea," said Floyd. He took a well-known Superdog comic from his back pocket and opened it to the last page. "Check out this cool clubhouse you can order. It comes with a secret escape hatch and a night vision telescope so you can see if there are any monsters sneaking around in the dark. Maybe if we combine all our money, we can buy it." They emptied their pockets out onto the picnic table. So there's everything they had in their pockets. Julius added up their money. Clearly, they did not have enough. "Wait a minute," said Heston. "My dad just added on room for the new baby, and there's plenty of lumber left over. We can build our own clubhouse." "Perfect," said his friends. So it looks like they each have a different idea of what they would like to do. Heston, Julius, and Floyd dashed over to Heston's house and returned with the supplies. They found Stanley by the garden. "This is the perfect spot for our clubhouse," Stanley said. "If we put it here, we can build the corn and slugs and cutworms that eat the vegetables. We can study them." "Looks good to me," said Julius. "I love vegetables." Just then, Stanley's mom called him in for lunch. "Sorry, I have to go," said Stanley. "Let's meet back here in an hour." They have all the lumber. They're going to build right by the garden so they can study all the insects. When Julius, Floyd, and Heston returned, there was no sign of Stanley or the supplies. "Maybe he was abducted by aliens," said Floyd. "That happened to Superdog once." They finally found Stanley by the pond. "This is an even better place for our clubhouse," he said. "We can do experiments with fish eggs and duckweed and pond scum." "Looks good to me," said Heston. "When we camp out on the clubhouse, we can take an early morning swim." So now they're over by the pond they're going to build. They spent the afternoon working together on their clubhouse. At supper time, they stopped for the day. "Well, it looks really great," said Heston. His friends agreed. All of them felt very proud of what they'd done, and they decided to meet the next morning to finish the job. So there's their clubhouse that they started. When Floyd, Julius, and Heston arrived the next day, the clubhouse was gone. Julius sighed. "Now where did Stanley move it?" he said. "Hey guys," it was Stanley calling from a small clearing in the woods. "I dragged the clubhouse over here so we can study leaf mold and mushrooms and decaying stuff. This is definitely the best place to put it." "Looks good to me," said Floyd. "The trees will give us cover to hide from bad guys, monsters, and aliens." And they are carrying all their stuff. "Let's get started," said Stanley. "I brought a box full of science equipment from my house so we can set up the lab." "I see," said Floyd. "I'm going to paint the inside of the clubhouse," said Julius, pulling out some brushes. "Oh," said Stanley. "I'll plan to build a fire pit for our campout," said Heston, uncovering a pile of stones in his wagon. Said Julius. "I've got all sorts of gadgets to spy-proof the clubhouse," said Floyd. "Also several masks and capes." "Really?" said Heston. So I don't think they're agreeing with everything that they're doing. They all set to work, but this time they worked alone. Floyd fastened a big antenna to the roof. "This should do it," he said. "Now we can pick up radio signals from enemy agents." "Wait a minute," said Heston. "I was going to put on a lookout tower there so we could see the stars when we camp out at night." "Okay," said Floyd. "I'll attach the antenna to a tree instead." "You can't," said Stanley. "Then we won't be able to move the clubhouse." "Who says we're moving it?" said Floyd. "This is the perfect spot." "I like the place by the garden better," said Julius. "I liked the place by the pond better," said Heston. The four friends frowned at each other. Never mind, Julia said at last. Come and let's see what we've done inside. Heston, Floyd, and Stanley ducked into the clubhouse and looked around. They couldn't believe their eyes. It looked like a supermarket in here, said Stanley. Yes, said Julius. Isn't it wonderful? Not really, said Floyd. It doesn't look like a superhero clubhouse at all. That's because it isn't one, snapped Julius. It's an art studio. An art studio, exclaimed Stanley. No way. This clubhouse is a science lab. I've got all my equipment set up so we can do experiments. Forget experiments, said Heston. What I want to do is roast marshmallows and tell ghost stories and have a camp out. So it doesn't sound like they're agreeing at all on what they're to do in their clubhouse. The four friends were furious with each other. Stanley stomped off to work in his lab. Julius started another painting. Heston told himself a ghost story. Floyd put on a mask and cape and went looking for bad guys. No one was happy. Finally, Julius spoke up. You know what, Heston, he said? Toasted marshmallows sound pretty good to me. I like your idea of a camp out. And I like your idea of an art studio, said Heston. Painting looks like fun. A science lab could be really cool, Floyd said to Stanley. Maybe we can find an alien to do experiments on. Sure, replied Stanley, but we probably need to dress up like superheroes to catch one. I guess our clubhouse could be anything we want it to be, said Julius. Yes, said Stanley. All we have to do is move it one last time. Together, they dragged the clubhouse to the middle of the yard so it was equal distance from the garden, the pond, and the woods. They spent the rest of the day painting pictures, conducting experiments, and playing superheroes. That night, they had a camp out. This really is the perfect clubhouse, said Floyd. Perfect, agreed Heston and Julius. Stanley said nothing. He was staring up into the trees. Stanley, said Julius, don't you think it's perfect? What? Oh, yes, said Stanley. I was just wondering, wouldn't it be even more perfect as a tree house? Uh-oh, so now he's getting the idea to turn it into a tree house. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed that story. So draw your picture of what you would turn the clubhouse into. What would make it perfect for you?